Hi, May 2nd, 2026, and we are on day 2098. 2098 days since Richard was forcibly removed from his barracks room. U.S. Army Distinguished Honor Graduate Soldier, #1 in his class at basic training, guidon bearer, wanted to be CID. He clept out of college six credits of college math when he was 15, 6 hours of German when he was 15, college credits of German, and yeah, wanted to serve our country and wanted to do it with his whole heart. He was stationed there at Fort Bliss. They were deployed to Qatar right there at the Strait of Hormuz, and he saw things. He saw a lot of things, and he said it was very, very bad, and he reported them. It started there in Qatar, and when he got back to El Paso, of course, he reported to many agencies. That's all documented, and they started targeting him, retaliating against him, his very own chain of command. Because they were involved. And of course, that led to the Walmart mass shooting as a diversion to the investigations and the audits that Richard's reports triggered during that time. And so, of course, they sent El Mayo's lawyer to do counterintelligence. Ray Velarde went and visited Richard, and soon after that, Richard was forcibly removed out of the barracks room, taken downstairs to the arms room, a soundproof room, and his life was taken from him. Then they proceeded to hide evidence, meaning remove his body, steal his body off of Fort Bliss. They had access to cameras. Because DES Thomas Kane was in on it. They had access to mortuary operations because the CID Tavita Nusa that was in on its brother was Solomon Anusa that had access to mortuary operations. Of course, this whole case has funeral people, mortuary people, and the Mormon faction. This is the Mormon faction, and they stole his. And that's just a common denominator. I don't mean anything bad about it. I'm just telling you what the evidence absolutely shows. This is a Mormon faction, and they're involved in the funeral business, mortuary business, and they're absolutely tied to the El Paso cartel and the CJNG. And they had a place at Juarez to dump bodies, crematorium, Plenitude Crematorium, a funeral, transnational, tied to the transnational funeral business in El Paso. But this was across the border, right? You can just a stone's throw across the border. And this is a dumping ground, and this is where all evidence points that our son's partial remains were dumped there. What do I mean by partial remains? I mean that evidence indicates that his organs were harvested. These people with the mortuary operations and funeral business and tied to the El Paso cartel seem to be in the organ harvesting business. And so this is why all of this is connected, right? So, just a couple days ago, so many things are happening with the CIA agents that were killed recently in Chihuahua during an unauthorized operation. And those are the key words, unauthorized operation, because they were not supposed to be there doing what they were doing. And now they are no more alive. And we received information that agents there at the scene were trying to tamper with the scene, that the scene was tampered with, that they were trying to remove the bodies in order to hide the bodies. But because of the terrain and because of the heat of the fire, because of how they died, they could not remove the remains. And so, I'm going to play this for you. It is in Spanish, but I think you can get the gist of it. I think you can. And God bless you if you speak Spanish and can translate this. Okay, here I go.
Hoy cayó el fiscal de Chihuahua, César Gustavo Jáuregui Moreno,
CJNG.
presentó su renuncia, o lo renunciaron, y la presentó voluntariamente a fuerzas, para asumir la responsabilidad política tras las omisiones relacionadas con la presencia de 4 agentes de la CIA que andaban como Pedro por Chihuahua.
Por congruencia con mi trayectoria y mis convicciones, entiendo que la medida más adecuada para corregir esta situación es poner a disposición mi cargo.
Okay, so you can always go to that and view it. There's even another one. Let me see if I have it here. Here it is. Same guy.
Reveló que los agentes de Chihuahua que participaron en el operativo para desmantelar un narcolaboratorio pensaron en deshacerse de los cuerpos de los 2 de la CIA que murieron tras la volcadura del vehículo en el que viajaban y que incluso lo discutieron en un momento de pánico con los otros 2 agentes de la CIA que sobrevivieron.
En el momento hubo un pánico, estaban viendo la posibilidad de mover los cuerpos de la escena o esconder los cuerpos y cubrir la participación de agentes americanos. No tengo completamente claro qué pasó, pero al final no lo hicieron y quien puso la nota al público fue el mismo embajador de Estados Unidos, Ronald Johnson, el primero que los sacó a la luz, ¿no?
Claro, porque fue el que dio las condolencias tras la muerte de estos 2 agentes de la CIA.
Okay, so what those two videos show is that the CIA agents were involved in an unauthorized operation in Chihuahua, Mexico, and Mexican's federal government is really upset about it. Who was the CIA collaborating with? They were collaborating with the Chihuahua's government, Governor Maru Campos. Okay, and her attorney general, her prosecutor, was Cesar Jáuregui, and he now has resigned, and the federal government there in Mexico, especially the Moreno party that's in charge there right now, in leadership right now, are very disgusted with what Maru Campos has been doing to Chihuahua, and these unauthorized operations that were facilitated by the El Paso, I call it the El Paso cartel, Alejandro de la Vega Foster. Alejandro de la Vega Foster, double agent, being on both sides of the border, in the administration for Governor Abbott in Texas, and being on the administration there in Chihuahua, the Chihuahua governor's administration. Not only that, but sitting on the commissions of intelligence and law enforcement there in Chihuahua. So Alejandra de la Vega made it her personal mission to introduce Maru Campos to Texas Governor Abbott. And what happened after that was an illegal treasonous treaty to reciprocal to have federal access, federal access to databases, to the CIA there in El Paso, to the FBI there in El Paso, and of course to the law enforcement federal cases, all the database accesses. And we know that Maru Campos, the Chihuahua government, is cartel. They are a narco government. So essentially, what this treaty did was give cartel access to databases, law enforcement, federal cases, and also um, allowed them to collaborate in unauthorized operations with the CIA and the FBI. And the CIA and the FBI have a lot of explaining to do about why they allowed this to happen. And of course, um, this is what um, Mexican President uh, Scheinbaum is, wanting to know. And of course, this started happening in 2021, 2022, and onward. And we were there until the end of 2020 um, uh, for months, getting, you know, uh, investigating our son's case. And absolutely there was mischief going on, and then it evolved, right? It evolved into both Texas Governor Abbott allowing this kind of interference with federal cases. Of course, our son's case is a federal case. And so when we saw files getting whitewashed, um, key parts of our son's case being manipulated and even erased, thank God we saved everything. But, you saw the manipulation of the case, and of course, our son's body being um, taken, stolen, and trafficked and disposed of in Mexico. Uh, he, I'm just saying, they had access to control federal cases and also to conduct these unauthorized, illegal operations. And so the Mexican government is wanting to convict or accuse, or we'll see how it goes. I think they want to convict her of treason, Maru Campos of treason, rightfully so. They should feel that way because this is not the only thing that she's done. And, of course, you have Plenitude Crematorium. You have all the embezzlement that has been documented. You have other cases, the missing persons cases in Chihuahua that has been manipulated and tampered with. And then you have the fuel theft with her former Attorney General, Cesar Paneche. Then you have, Carlos Manuel Salas living in El Paso when he is the North Zone prosecutor in her administration. The judge letting the owner of the Plenitude Crematorium 400, flesh peddling, absolutely flesh peddling without permits. And that was her mother's job, was to see that there's oversight with these funeral home businesses and crematoriums. And she allowed that to go without any license or permit, no water, no electricity, no air condition, just stack the bodies up. This is at the border, y'all. This is hot weather, right? Stack bodies up. They were in absolute disgusting, filthy situation. Smell was just unbearable, and over 400 bodies. And, the fraud to give families urns full of construction debris that was ground up. And, all indication is that our son's remains are there at this place. And so the tampering of our son's files in Mexico. So Maru Campos was facilitated by the double agent El Paso cartel Alejandro de la Vega. And where am I getting to this? I'm getting to Beto O'Rourke. That's who yet last night, it gets so late sometimes. I don't want to make excuses, but there's so much to cover. And I didn't really talk about Ruben Rocha Moya as much as I wanted to, because he is a distraction. He was indicted. He is in Sinaloa. He is the governor of Sinaloa. Is he innocent in all of this? I don't know. I don't think that anyone in Mexico, in a narco state, and I'm not saying that it's not in the United States either. I'm saying in both countries we have a big, big problem with these narco governors. Um, but our evidence, our information that's coming in is that his name was used as bait um, uh, to get Al Moya to a certain place and to be ambushed. But what we couldn't find is the presence of Ruben Rocha um, at that so-called meeting. It seems that they used his name for a bait, but he wasn't there. So I don't know. Maybe someone else has other evidence that can show that, but we can't find it. And we're pretty good at what we do right now. We've been right all along. So it, our um, evaluation of the situation with El Mayo, who, if you don't know, he's like the kingpin, the godfather of this Sinaloa cartel, the old guard, one of the founding fathers. You have the El Mayo, and then you have the El Chapo. Are they cartel? Yes. Are they criminals? Yes. But El Mayo uh, was taken in an illegal operation, an unauthorized operation with no extradition paperwork, no talking between the two federal governments of Mexico and the United States. And so it shows you that the Chihuahua El Paso cartel were doing unauthorized operations. And when El Mayo was ambushed at this meeting, that never happened because he was assaulted, he was hooded, he was put in a plane, and he was flown. And we want to know whose plane that was. Who lent the plane that took El Mayo with El Chapo's son, because El Chapo's son had made a deal because of his brother and his father already being in prison. And so who they made a deal with, I don't know. I don't know. Um, but El Chapo's son betrayed El Mayo. That's very clear. And they ambushed him, and they put him on a plane, and they took him to El Paso. Okay, they took him to the Santa Teresa International Jetport, where the FBI, like I don't know if it was exactly Connell Wetton, maybe it was, maybe I have to look at my notes. I think my notes will tell me if it was Connell Wenton, the narco FBI agent from the El Paso office, the assistant special agent in charge that leaked our son's identity to the cartel. But you had to have a compromised narco FBI agent to do this because there were no extradition papers. So they knew, because of that, it's like not having a warrant to do a search on your house, like they did to us, right? Search our house without a warrant. And they did not have the right paperwork, but it didn't seem to matter to the FBI, did it? It didn't seem to matter that this was an unauthorized illegal operation that was really violating both countries' sovereignty, right? And El Mayo then was arrested. He is in American, he was sent to New York, the same place that did this decoy stunt with Governor Ruben Rocha, right? It's like a decoy stunt because the heat is turning up really hot on Maru Campos and the El Paso cartel, Alejandro de la Vega, who uh, yes, that made this all happen with the introduction to Greg Abbott. And the heat is turning up on Greg Abbott, and Greg Abbott is in an election cycle right now. So this is really, when the AG for Maru Campos resigns, that there is, it is hot. It is hot. And I can tell you from the speeches of Mexican President Sheinbaum, she is very angry about everything happening. Very angry. So now we have this opportunity to say, look, the El Paso cartel, in my estimation and our family's estimation, includes Beto O'Rourke. Beto O'Rourke is a big part of this. And it is no coincidence that the gardener who was just arrested, the CJNG, he goes by the gardener, and his name is, and I have it here, and I think it's very important for everyone to know, Audius Flores Silva. Okay, well, he is directly connected to this El Paso cartel border trafficking. He is not just any leader. He was a CJNG cartel leader that was slated to take the place of El Mencho, right? El Mencho was just killed not too long ago. And he is the financial, I'm reading it off, financial and logistical operator for CJNG. Okay, and he operator for illicit proceeds, money laundering, ORPI, and leader of the criminal network known as the Gardeners. Okay, the Gardeners. And then he is accused of kidnapping, extortion, disposal of property. I know he has a criminal record for cocaine, trafficking and sale of arms and drugs, acquisition of aircraft, boats, real estate, investments, and my phone doesn't want to work. Tequila production company. Yeah, tequila. I had to read that twice. Yeah. Yeah, I used to take, we used to take my grandmother over to Juarez to buy some tequila. Absolutely, for my uncle. to take it back to Germany for a gift. Okay, strategic association. Yeah, financial logistics operation for CJNG. So this is really important that people don't understand that these are businessmen, right? These are criminal. This is a criminal organization that is not, a bunch of thugs on a street. They are absolutely infiltrators to destroy our economy and our communities and our countries. They absolutely extort and loads of money, loads of money. The amount of fraud is and crime is incredible, and so this is really important to understand. Now, and before our son's case, I really didn't understand the extent of the cartel reach. The extent that it absolutely is not only Mexican but also American. Okay, because the media is in on it. They don't tell you the truth. They don't tell you that we have an El Paso cartel. We absolutely have an El Paso cartel that has their thumb on many Mexican cartels. And this is why this whole thing with El Mayo happened, because El Mayo is the old godfather, old guard that has certain lines that they don't want to cross. I know that our sources tell us that El Mayo absolutely refused to deal in meth. He absolutely refused to even take the drugs. And the new generation, this is their problem. They're engaged in taking the very drugs that they're selling, whereas the old guard didn't do that. And so this has caused a lot of problems. And he did not deal in meth, and he did not deal in child trafficking. So we are told, okay, he left the children and the women alone, and the meth. He was really probably cocaine, guns, right? Guns and cocaine, and of course they also CJNG and even this new gardener, they were in business with the hotels, with timeshares. They did a lot of timeshare fraud, and they did a lot of gambling fraud and things like that, business fraud. So, and I'm not making any excuses for El Mayo. I'm just trying to give you a character card, right? A character card on these different criminals. And he did not want to do the meth, and I don't know if he wanted to do the fentanyl, but uh, he did not want to go along with the El Paso cartel. And the El Paso cartel had put under their thumb the Juarez cartel, the CJNG cartel, the La Linea. The La Linea is from Nova Casas Grandes. So that is really big part of the arm of the El Paso cartel because of the Mormon faction, right, of the cartel. And of course they had the Chapitos arm of the Sinaloa cartel, and they wanted the Maices, which is the El Mayo arm of the Sinaloa cartel as well. They wanted it all. And this is why I believe, and our family believes, that El Mayo was ambushed and assaulted, hooded, put into a plane. Whose plane? Whose plane? Because it was an El Paso plane, and flown to El Paso to be illegally arrested by the compromised narco FBI that had become in alliance and under the control of the El Paso cartel through the facilitation of Alejandro de la Vega with Amaru Campos and Abbott. You know, wowzer, right? Wowzer. All of this fits together. And I believe it's very important to say that Beto O'Rourke, because in 2019 he was running to be president and the El Paso cartel was backing him up. They were funding him. They were funding him really big. And Beto O'Rourke's family ranch was right beside uh, Zorro Ranch, Jeffrey Epstein's Zorro Ranch. And it was his campaign um, uh, agent or campaign staff, Benito Torres, that ended up denying us our congressional through the office of Veronica Escobar, because after Beto O'Rourke failed in his attempt to be president, Benito Torres went to work for Veronica Escobar, and he was recently caught impersonating an attorney and bringing contraband, in this case, telephones, cell phones, into an ICE facility to try to turn the ICE facility in like a cartel headquarters, right? A headquarters operations building or whatever. So, um, uh, when we saw his name, he is the one that denied us a congressional in our son's murder case, which is, just unforgivable, really, just unforgivable. How evil can you get? Um, Beto O'Rourke is connected to Jeffrey Epstein. Beto O'Rourke is connected to um, and I didn't put this in the article, he's connected also to Chicago, to the Pritzkers, of course, because his father-in-law was from Chicago, and of course, then he's connected to Obama through the party and Oprah, and Obama even called him the young Obama, the new generation Obama. That's who. Beto O'Rourke was supposed to be, right? But we know that he was, right next to the most prolific, despicable child trafficking pipeline in the history of in history. And so I put up that map on the post, and I hope that you can see it. Let's see if I have it here. So I display this. So here's the map. And if you go really close, and I put the three. So here's Santa Fe. Right above the Zorro Ranch is the Sanders Ranch, which is Beto O'Rourke's family ranch, Zorro Ranch. Then Fort Bliss, of course, Fort Huachuca. So really close in here. And of course, this is Chihuahua. Right under Fort Bliss is, of course, El Paso and Juarez. And and here's Chicago. So they're connected. Beto O'Rourke is the brother-in-law of CEO Eric Pearson for El Paso Community Foundation, which we know El Paso Community Foundation is up to no good, is El Paso Matters, is the very Bob Moore that targeted us, targeted our son before his death, targeted him afterwards, targeted us, obstructed, interfered, absolutely. And they are, this is Eric Pearson. He is the brother-in-law of Beto O'Rourke. He used to work for KTSM, and Beto O'Rourke here, if I can pull it up, you can see Beto O'Rourke right here in this picture, and of course over here. He he started Stanton Street. Okay, that was a tech business, and they had an agreement with KTSM. And it is no coincidence that Danae Katzen, who targeted us, who targeted Richard, had um, absolutely tampering with Richard's case, with the Walmart case, with the evidence in both cases, with financial documents, with finances, is a fugitive, was working on Beto O'Rourke's campaign, led us to KTSM. I have the whole video of when we were in KTSM with Danae Katzen. And this is, uh, Beto O'Rourke's house in El Paso is right next to the owner of the Plenitude Crematorium with the 400 rotting bodies. And that is Rafael Arellano Curon. And of course, Beto O'Rourke was employing La Diabla, the organ harvester, the baby harvester, the one that was selling babies in the black market. He was employing her family, um, along with Justin Underwood, who also tampered and targeted the Walmart case and our son's case. Um, so, you know, this is all of these connections, and also this connection with Ernest Christopher Grant, who was the media sweetheart for the Walmart mass shooting and absolutely has been arrested now because he was not a good guy, and they tried to pawn him off as like some kind of hero, and he's not. He's a criminal. He's a total criminal, and President Trump was right all along. Um, And you see it right here. Here's Beto O'Rourke with Ernest Christopher Grant. Here is Benito Torres. Um, and I hope that you get time to read these. And then, of course, this is the lawsuit that Ernest Christopher Grant and some bad operatives wanted to cash in on, the fraud, but this didn't go anywhere. I think it has been dropped now. And hopefully because of our work. There he is, Mr. Mugshot, Ernest Christopher Grant. And there he is with Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas. You can't make this stuff up. And of course, Greg Abbott is the one that was taking planes to meet with his El Paso cartel, which included the CJNG, which we know that La Diabla is CJNG, and we know this Gardner is CJNG. And we know that Governor Abbott was meeting and eating with the El Paso cartel, which included CJNG leadership. So, the arrest of the gardener is huge. It's not something that you can overlook. It is really, really huge, and it's all coming together, and it shows you that this indictment out of New York, because New York has allies with Beto O'Rourke, with Maru Campos, because if you say Beto O'Rourke, you can say Maru Campos. They're all the same. They're all the same. Alejandro de la Vega, Maru Campos, Beto O'Rourke, Paul Foster, Woody Hunt, Bill Sanders, Obama's, Oprah, Pritzker's. This is the El Paso cartel. Even if they might be in Chicago, they're the El Paso cartel. And Alejandra de la Vega is the double agent. See, she's a double agent, and that's what sets her above and beyond the others, because she had access two intel and administrations on both sides. So she was the facilitator. That's what she was. And and yeah, now, so treason was happening left and right. And I said it, I've been saying it for years. This was treason because they infiltrated our military, and our military absolutely committed treason in our son's case. And I hope that puts a lot of dots together. Let me see if there's any questions now. I should have went on from the very beginning. Puts a lot of dots together. I mean, can you imagine everyone that has been following this for a long time, to see all of the, to see Danae Katzen right there with Beto O'Rourke? And I have to say, at Black Lives Matters, it was Texas Heart. Also, for Dallas Morning News with Corchado, which is Angela Kachurga's husband. They used Texas Heart, for his, like he was a survivor from the Walmart, and he was this El Paso guitar player, and he's a survivor from the Walmart mass shooting. And, um, you know, the media is absolutely complicit in this, from El Paso Matters to Dallas Morning News to KTEP to KTSM, and on. They are really not our friends at all, and this shows it when you have Eric Pearson working for KTSM, and then you have Danae Katzen taking us to KTSM, and her doing this, oh, I have to be incognito. They all knew her. And, when we left, we even said it. Gosh, she seems so familiar with that place. She knew where the bathroom was and everything. She just seemed like at home. She just didn't need any directions. She knew where to sit, what to do. And it was like, gosh, it's like she's been there before. And she had been. She was absolutely, and she's a fugitive now. So, um, it was all a conspiracy, and I really have to use that word. They've tried to manipulate our minds against the word conspiracy, because that's what they do. They conspire together, and they absolutely did, targeting us from the very beginning, targeting our son, absolutely. And so, all of our memes, all the evidence that we put up. And now we have the gardener that is the finance, the logistics, um, an address there in Houston where, the precursors come from, shipped in for to make fentanyl. You have to have these precursor, chemicals, and you saw that in the video. If not, please watch that video again on your own, because you'll see all the precursors there in order to make this drug, this very, very deadly drug called fentanyl. And yeah, so El Mayo didn't want to go along with that. Okay, clearly he didn't want to go along with that. That's why they had to really kidnap him. Really, that's what it was. And does he need to be in jail? Does he need to be indicted? But yes, but legally, in a legal operation, not in a rogue operation, you know. And so this is why all of this is coming out now, because Alejandro de la Vega with the El Paso cartel, they wanted it all. They wanted all the cartels to be under their thumb, and they wanted it to be oil, for oil. Because don't forget that Alejandro de la Vega, um, she owns these convenience stores, right? The convenience stores, and her husband runs West Star Refinery, and also is big part in West Star Bank, right? So, and we know that, like, the uh, uh, the Fong, the birth of Fong, and all of that embezzlement and money that was going to El Paso banks, to El Paso um, property, to El Paso. They were bringing the money to El Paso. And so it would be interesting if some of that money was put into Paul Foster and Woody Hunt's West Star Bank. You know, it would be very interesting to know that. So we know it's El Paso. We know that. So that is really, I think, shocking news again. Every day we have shocking news, and we are moving forward. There's a lot going on behind the scenes, a lot of work behind the scenes, and we're moving forward. And it's really good news. I mean, glorious days right now, because the crime is rising to the top. Maybe some other things are rising to the top over there as Lake, Cement Lake, Portland Reservoir. We'll see. Um, so they took off 17 feet of water. Some say 20 feet of water. That's a lot of water. That's a lot of water to bring down. So that is, I think that's the news for today. And thank you so much for joining. And please share, share, share. Thank you, Laura, for coming on, Anicia and Lara. Thank you so much for your prayers and your love. And we only ask really one thing, and that is to share this information, that it gets out there, because that is that's the key. That's the golden key to getting accountability, to getting our son's remains, and to getting accountability. So please share this information, and I will be back tomorrow.